Welcome to Retcon Air, the plotline repair podcast. Like the name suggests, this is a podcast that takes a look at the plotlines of movies, sitcoms, books, video games, and even Broadway shows. We take a look at who wrote the story, how it was received by the community, and how it impacted us. We also take a walk through the main moments of each story, and of course, wrap up by adding what we might do differently if we had the chance to repair a piece of the plotline that doesn't quite jive with us. We know it's a hell of a lot of ground to cover, so in the show notes, you'll find a table of contents with time codes to serve as a guide for each episode of Retcon Air. Sure, we'll cover comments and criticisms and even offer our own ideas for ways we could repair the plotline of each of these stories, but myself and the people that help make the show do so because we love these pieces of work and love getting the chance to talk about them. So, if that sounds good to you, stick around as we break down Underworld.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, Shelby and I are back again, together.
Like always, together.
Recording from the safety of the Mantic. Shelby, are you excited for this episode?
You know I am. I love Underworld.
All right, good. So let's start it off by this new segment we started called the Amory. It is where we quickly just kind of touch on what we're reading, watching, playing, etc. So Shelby, what are you into right now?
So I just started reading Dune. I didn't realize it was a novel until I saw some trailers for the movie. I read a little bit, as much as I can each day, and although it took me a little bit to get into, I can highly recommend it now that I've gotten into it. I'm about 400 pages in, and I have a hard time putting it down.
Out of how many pages?
800, I think.
Get it, girl.
So I've been doing that and a little bit of Animal Crossing each day, although I've got to admit my interest in that is kind of waning just because I can't figure out what to do with my island. What about you, though?
I've been playing a lot of Overwatch, and I recently kind of got back into Final Fantasy XIV.
Very cool.
So that's what's up with us. And then on to the writer's room, where, we talk about who wrote or contributed to the piece. Shelby, you want to talk about the boring background information for this awesome movie?
You know what? So the first Underworld movie was released in 2003 and was worked on by the trio of Ken Wiseman, also known for Live Free or Die Hard and Total Recall.
Yeah.
Kevin Graveau, who
that looks right.
Who also acted in the film, and Danny McBride, who was also a stuntman.
Oh, look at him.
It's important to note that although this movie, and actually the series, did receive some pretty negative feedback from the critics, the fan base is pretty large, and the movies did well overall, pulling a profit.
With that, we'll head on into Deep Impact. So here in Deep Impact, we're going to cover some of the reviews. Shelby, you want to take the top positive, and I'll take I'll be the Debbie Downer and take the top negative?
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so I've got to admit this before I even get into my review. The reviews for this movie are all over the place. I found that most were a fair mixture of like and dislike, but I researched a lot of different websites before I settled on my favorite positive review. This was found on the IMDb page for Underworld. This review comes from a user called Aran Turgon. He said, quote, "When Underworld was released in the theaters, I didn't bother seeing it because of the bad reviews. I recently rented it because the video store didn't have anything better to offer that I had not already seen, and I must say that I was very much surprised. It was far better than expected. I especially liked the acting of the vampire lord Victor and Michael Sheen as the werewolf leader Lucian. I think that the plot is quite strong and it does not ruin the vampire or werewolf legend. What I didn't like as much was the werewolf costumes. I didn't find them convincing. But apart from that, it was very entertaining and I'm looking forward to see the sequel in the theaters." End quote. I like this. Personally, I did not know that there were so many negative reviews of the movie when I watched it, but I can agree that I loved that the legends of both the werewolves and vampires were explained in a way that I thought made sense and didn't, as he said, I guess, ruin it.
Yeah. I can kind of see what he means too about the vampire, no, not the vampire, I'm sorry, the werewolf look.
Oh, 1,000%. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I'll get into that later, but I totally agree.
It's their own little thing. I get it. I could take it or leave it. All right, so top negative review. This review comes from Peter Sunderland, who left a lengthy article on Vox. Among some admittedly more positive statements, he did say, and I quote, "Underworld is by no means a great movie. The whole thing comes across a little too much like a grungy nu metal video extended to feature length, which is not really that surprising given that Wiseman previously directed grungy nu metal videos. Speedman has a hunky bro vibe that tends to drag the movie down whenever he's on screen. The dialogue, which often dwells on matters of bloodline and family lineage, would be embarrassing in a video game. Okay, I mean, he's not wrong about the dialogue being embarrassing in a video game. I'll give you that one. And
yeah, but what video games have the actual dialogue from the movies in them?
That is fair. And I don't know, I can see what he means by Speedman. I'm not saying he was bad in the role. I don't know, some of his acting was a little in a couple spots. So like I'm not saying I agree with the negative thing, but like I don't hate it. I'm not going to just completely shit all over this guy's review.
Okay.
For once. All right, so now we're at there and back again. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the story.
So this movie opens up on a stormy night with Kate Beckinsale's voice explaining that the war between the Lycans, who are the werewolves, and the vampires had come to a halt when Lucian, the most feared and ruthless leader ever to lead the Lycan clan, had finally been killed. We see a figure clad in leather crouching on the edge of a balcony, Kate billowing in the wind. Kate explains that victory seemed to be within the vampire's grasp, but nearly 6 centuries had passed and the war continued on. The Lycans were fewer in number, but the moon no longer controlled their changing, which I thought was really interesting. Mm-hmm. The extremely attractive actress explains that as a vampire, I totally have a crush, as a vampire, her orders are to hunt and kill Lycan one by one. We see her interact with another vampire who is positioned at another vantage point with a camera, taking photos of 2 men who you can now assume are Lycans. She makes eye contact before leaping down from the balcony and gracefully landing and walking it out. So I don't know about you, Bri, but I really enjoyed this opening. For me, it was the perfect mixture of an explanation of where we were going to go on this journey, a dark setting to get us into the right mindset, and such a perfect death dealer to watch on the journey.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It did a great job of setting the mood and, showing what you're about to get into without giving too much away.
Yeah, sure.
It set the background, what got you to this point, and now let's go on this ride.
Yep.
So after that all-important opening, the action almost immediately picks up.
Yeah.
If you watch closely, you'll notice the eyes of the 2 targets are directly ahead of them on another guy. They are following him. They head down to the subway, and our leather-clad vampire team... I love your writing so much.
Thank you.
They head down to the subway, and our leather-clad vampire team follows. The woman makes eye contact with a man down the subway station before one of the Lycans realizes they're being followed and screams bloods. The fact no one screamed crypts is amazing. Before pulling out 2 weapons. The battle ensues, and our main girl watches in shock as another leather-clad vampire it is just a tongue twister.
It's in there a lot, too, so get used to it.
I actually read this script. Battle ensues as our main girl watches in shock as another leather-clad vampire is taken down and burned from the inside by some blue light that was in the Lycan's ammo. Crazy. Oh, what a twist. The man that she had made eye contact with jumps off the train to help a woman who was shot. Yep. Just an innocent bystander.
Yep.
Just as the larger of the 2 Lycans jumps into the train for cover. The old switcheroo.
Switcheroony. So the battle continues on and off the train. We finally get to see our first Lycan transformation. What did you think of that, Bri?
So I like the way that they did it. They kept the scene dark. And it was just like... little shots here and there of the transformation. They showed the head starting to change and the whole jaw coming out and all that, and they showed the hands turning into claws. I like the way they showed it, but I mean, I'm still kind of iffy on the end product.
Yeah, I just feel like it looked like a guy in a big werewolf costume that you would get from Spirit, a Halloween store.
I'm just kind of meh about the overall, even just the head and the face of it.
That's what I mean. It looks like something from the Spirit Halloween store that you could just go buy for $20.
I don't know. I feel like I could get something better from the Spirit Halloween
Maybe you could. Maybe you're right. Anyways, so following a blood trail, our girl takes down the smaller Lycan and manages to find his weapon. She notices that the ammo is blue, and she thinks it's possibly ultraviolet. Shocker, it is.
Spoilers.
The bigger Lycan, still in wolf form, shows up, and he's ready to rumble, as he always is. While running from him, our girl hears what we see to be a full room of men who are growling. What she can't see to confirm is that they're Lycans. They're standing around jeering as two of them take on each other in wolf form, and the crowd is silenced when a shotgun is blasted at the ceiling by a man that we can only assume is their leader.
Our girl drives off and entering the courtyard of an incredibly old mansion that is filled with, spoiler alert, vampires. Because, I mean, they always live in bomb mansions.
That mansion is sweet, dude.
Oh, it is stunning. Showing the new ammo to the weapons man. They're a weapons expert, if you will. The bullet is examined, and it starts an argument between our girl and another kind of douchey looking dude.
Total douche.
God, I hate him so
He's
much.
Such a douche.
She wants to gather a force and head back down into the other sewers she was in to see if there truly is a den of Lycans. But this douche refuses. We finally learn the name of our leather-clad and Shelby's quote here, admittedly super hot.
Look, I call him how I see him.
I'm not going to disagree. It's Kate Beckinsale.
I know.
We finally learn the name of our leather-clad, admittedly super hot vampire, Seline. And the vampire arguing with her is Kraven, the douche. He finally, quote-unquote, agrees, but will only send a search team headed by another man and refuses to let Seline go back. Clearly pissed off, Seline goes into this ominous room with some ominous music playing as the doors slowly creak open. To look into an intricate circle on the floor marked with a V. This is Victor's tomb. Ooh. Kraven sends a blonde vampire to watch over Seline and ensures that she gets ready because there are some guests coming to the mansion. We're going to have a party.
So you're going to notice here they switch scenes a lot in Underworld because it's taking place in so many different areas between the two clans and between the Lycans and the vampires. So here we switch back to the Lycans. The large Lycan, in human form again, picks up a body. We switch back to Seline. She's checking photos that her downed comrade had taken and realizes what you as a viewer might have already realized in the opening, that the Lycans were following a man. The man that she made eye contact with, conveniently, when she was down in the subway. Kraven comes into her room and basically throws the first of many fits during the movie over the fact that Seline doesn't want to be with him. No matter what she says, he just can't get it in his head. The scene changes once again, and now we see a man chained and hanging. Corvinus is printed on a piece of paper on the wall. I've got to admit, this entire scene was very Bioshock to me. Bri, what did you think of this?
Yeah, I could see it, where their quote-unquote base is and everything. I could definite Bioshock vibe. And also, I can't stand Kraven, his character, anything about him. I hate him so much.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That being said, I also really like the contrast between the Vampire Mansion and the Lycan sewer Bioshock-esque hangout.
Well, yeah, it kind of really shows the difference between the two groups. You know, the vampires seemingly are doing so well. They seem to be on the upswing of this and they're going to win, but then the Lycans are down there and they're still struggling, and even though they're in like a crappy place, there's a lot of them and they kind of seem to be getting along better than the vampires are, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. So blood is drawn from the man that's all chained up and whatnot, and it's tested. A name written on a scrap of paper on the wall is crossed off, and the Lycan leader watches on. The scene changes again, and we see a locker door closing, and the name on it is M. Corvin. The man the Lycans were following is apparently some type of intern, and as a co-worker congratulates him on a successful report from a surgeon on his last procedure. And another scene change.
Again, I told you, I warned you.
It's so back and forth. This time we were following the big boy Lycan again, as he's got that body slung over his shoulder and he's just walking. We got this super creepy Lycan doctor.
He's like, he reminds me of Peaches from Bioshock. I keep comparing this to Bioshock, but it's just because it's got that dark vibe. But like, if Peaches from Bioshock was a doctor, Peaches and Steinman mixed together, and that's him. Oh god,
yes, that's him. That's perfect. So this creepy doctor who drained the blood from our chained up dude takes a look at the fallen Lycan before announcing that the silver from the ammo has already entered the Lycan's organs and there's no chance for regeneration. So he dead.
He gone.
He removes Seline's kick-ass ninja throwing star things that she had tossed in our large Lycan boy before she skiddly bopped on out of there.
Yep.
There's another negative blood test, and at this point, the doctor states that he must see this Michael M. Corvin. The Lycan leader takes off, angrily stating or asking, "Must I do everything myself?" And then he just broods away.
Yep. So, another scene change. We're back at the vampire mansion, and it seems that the guests have arrived. Erica, who we come to find is the blonde vampire, alerts Kraven to Seline's departure. She snuck out rather than getting ready. I totally believe that Erica tried to stop her. Not.
Yeah.
So, Seline has found Michael's address, and she wants to go see why the Lycans are so interested in him. The scene changes, and now some quote-unquote police are questioning the coworker Michael had spoken to in the hospital. They want to know where he is, and they kind of tell him that he was involved in a shooting. Now we're back in Michael's apartment. Seline is looking through some printed photos when the phone rings. Out in the hallway, Michael has cautiously walked up to his cracked open door, and he listens as the answering machine picks up, and his coworker explains that the cops were looking for him and what they were looking for him for. Seline makes a move and grabs Michael, but as she does, we hear the Lycans. Michael runs. Seline shoots a few Lycans before changing her aim. She shoots the floor in a circle around her. What did you think of that, Bry?
Okay, so overall, like, it was a cool scene.
Sure, it looked cool.
Yeah, visually it looked cool. And I'm all for over-the-top Hollywood action scenes. But there is no way in hell that her two handguns could hold enough bullets in them to not only put multiple rounds and multiple Lycans, but then also shoot the floor in a circle around her enough times for it to weaken for her to drop through, without her reloading her guns, which she didn't do at any point during that.
Listen, it's vampire ammo. You don't know what her man had made for her, the weapons dealer?
No.
I'm just kidding. I know.
No.
I know, Brad. I know.
Like, there's multiple times where she is just slinging bullets, and the entire time, like, when did she reload? Because there's no way.
The only time they have her or anybody in the movie reload is when it seems like they need it, like, for the drama. You know what I mean?
Which, again, like, I'm all for the action scene, but, like, I don't know. That's just a tad ridiculous. Anyways, moving on. After she drops to the floor just in time before the Lycans get her, she runs to find Michael. He's just been confronted by the Lycan leader, and before Seline can grab Michael and run, she notices a necklace that the leader is wearing as he turns to bite Michael. Seline gets Michael out of there, but the Lycan leader has what he wanted, and he spits some of Michael's blood into a small little vial, because that's all he really wanted, was his blood.
And this was gross. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I like dark movies and stuff, but when he was like, the blood was like coming out of his mouth, and then when he spit it, it was just like, oh, like, come on, man.
Into the vial. In another awesome scene, the Lycan leader rips open his shirt, because that's what you do when you've been shot. Because Seline shot him.
When you're a Lycan leader, I mean, yeah, man, I don't know.
You just rip open that shirt, man. Show that six-pack.
I don't even know if he had one.
Probably not. And one by one, through sheer force of will, he pushes the bullets just out of his skin. They fall to the floor.
Yep.
Because, I don't know, badass moment.
Yeah.
And once they're all out, he turns and takes off in the direction of Seline. And somehow, even though Seline and Michael are in a car hauling ass, this dude in human form is able to sprint fast enough to catch up to them.
It made me feel like the Roadrunner.
Yes.
Like, he was the Roadrunner in that moment.
Or it also reminded me of when Devin and I did the retcon for Blade. There's one scene where Triple H is just sprinting. Yeah. It looks like they had him run, and then they just sped the film up. Reminded me of that in a big way.
Yes, definitely.
So dude jumps on top of the car. He's got a hidden blade in his sleeve. It's like a little sword. He's stabbing down to the roof. He gets Seline in the shoulder. She slams on the brakes, which she should have done from the beginning, which then tossed him off the front of the car. She backs up, puts it back in drive, and runs the dude over, which really is just him kind of like flipping onto the hood and then doing a sweet front flip nonsense and land on his feet.
Right.
And, you know, that happens. So he just gives up at this point because, like, I don't know, he's got what he needs. He doesn't really need them anymore. Right. Seline, however, has lost a lot of blood. Michael tries to get her to pull over, and she's not having any of that because she's a vampire. Who gives a shit? And, due to blood loss, she loses consciousness, and the car wrecks and flips into the water.
Yep.
Luckily, even though Michael hit his head on the window pretty hard, he still remained conscious. He pulls out her gun, shoots out a window, and then drags her out of the water and up onto the bank, where, he then performs CPR and gets the water out of her lungs, bandages up her shoulder, and then he just kind of passes out in the mud next to her.
Yep. Sure happens that way.
Yeah.
So the scene changes again, and we watch as the Lycan leader gives Dr. McCreepy the blood that he had taken from Michael. Kraven looks out of the... Hold on, sorry. I'm going to do that again. Kraven looks out one of the mansion windows back in the vampire mansion, wondering where Seline could have gone. Back in the Lycan den, Michael's blood tests positive. And then again, another scene change. Michael wakes up from a type of nightmare that he's just had. Seline had woken up, apparently, and brought him back to the mansion. Kraven decides he needs to speak with Seline, i.e. yell at her for not being his perfect willing wife. So Erica watches over Michael as he sleeps.
Really creepily, too.
Yeah, that is until she sees the bite marks on his neck. So out the window, Michael goes, understandably horrified by this unknown woman who was hissing at him from the ceiling at this point. And Kraven gives Seline a good old smackaroo.
Which, to be fair, I'm surprised she didn't, just deck him right then and there.
Oh, for sure.
So, but instead of punching him in the face like Kraven deserves, because he's the worst,
yep.
She instead goes and lets out some anger by, shooting some statues and whatnot, as you do.
Yep.
Our weapons guy, who we now learn whose name is Khan, gives Seline some special ammos, some special bullets.
Yep.
That they kind of copied from the Lycans ultraviolet rounds, but they're filled with silver nitrate. Mm-hmm. That way the Lycans can't dig them out anymore. It's
liquid
silver,
straight to the bloodstream.
It's silver goo all up in the bloods. At this point, we learn that the only accounts of Lucian, the previous Lycan leader's death, came from Kraven, and Seline is starting to question. I know, right? Crazy. Selene's starting to question it and shares her concerns with Khan.
So interesting. So maybe he actually didn't kill Lucian? Bum bum bum.
Weird, crazy. You mean he lied?
What?
Oh. Kraven would never lie, ever. In the next scene, we see Kraven meeting with a Lycan leader. What a twist!
What?
It is, in fact, Lucian.
What?
What a bigger twist!
What?
And they've apparently made some sort of arrangement. The third and final huge twist.
What a douche.
He's the worst. Scene change. Back in the mansion. Seline breaks into a room and finds an old book detailing Kraven's account of killing Lucian. The proof, air quotes, was that he returned with a piece of the branded skin cut from Lucian's arm. Matching the branded piece of skin in the back of the book, gross, to a photo that conveniently had the subject's face torn off. Seline notices the necklace worn by the subject. It was the necklace she saw on the Lycan leader earlier. Crazy.
Oh my.
The plot just thickens, man.
So at this point, Erica tells Seline about the bite marks that she saw on Michael. And a scene change. Michael is in the hospital with his coworker, attempting to explain what he's been through. The coworker thinks he's gone completely bonkers, which, understandable.
Oh yeah, fair.
And attempts to bring the cops that had already questioned him in about Michael. But Michael has already ran. He's a sneaky guy. He gets out of there.
So sneak.
Seline does a big no-no back in the vampire mansion, awakening Victor before the proper ceremony and without the proper help. She uses her blood in an attempt to share her recent memories and concerns with Kraven, but long story short, because she's not, practiced in that, it kind of gets to him all jumbled up.
Yeah.
Michael shows up at the mansion, and he's asking for Seline. She barely escapes the room that Victor, in dried out raisin form, was in.
Oh, gross and crusty.
And so gross. And says that she will come down to Michael. Kraven is pissed, again, always. But when Seline admits that she had woken Victor, his face changes instantly. Seline picks Michael up in her car and leaves as Kraven goes into the chamber where the sleeping vampire leaders are stored. Erica tells Kraven of the bite marks on Michael's neck, As he yells in outrage, we hear another voice from the distance.
What's this ruckus?
That was really well done.
Thank you.
Kraven's face drops again, realizing that it's Victor's voice.
Oh no.
Seline explains the sitch to Michael after seeing his bite mark for herself.
Victor confronts Kraven back in the mansion, asking him to get Seline and bring her to him right this instant, young man.
Immediately.
He states that Kraven has let the Coven weaken in his absence. Kraven tells Victor that he's been awakened a full century ahead of schedule by Seline, and this gets the heat off him, but only for a second. Scene change. Seline takes Michael to an interrogation room that the vampires use for Lycans. She explains that the nightmares he's been having are actually memories passed down from Lucian when he bit him.
Yep.
She gives him some blood that has been cloned by an owned manufacturer because, vampires have side hustles.
You know it.
Scene change. Lucian is getting an army ready. Scene change. Michael wants to know why Seline hates the Lycans. She explained how they had killed her family and how Victor found her, chased them off, before offering her immortality at the age of 19. Michael, who wants to come with Seline to figure out what they can do, is tricked with a kiss, and she handcuffs him to a chair. The old switcheroo, or the razzle-dazzle.
The razzle-dazzle?
The razzle-dazzle. The old kiss them and chain them thing. Yeah.
Sure, that's the thing. Mm-hmm.
She leaves a gun and tells him that one bullet shouldn't kill him, but it should stop the transformation if she isn't back in time. For a little bit, anyways.
Seline returns to the mansion. Outside, Lucian's creepy doctor has night vision goggles trained on her. She doesn't know. Inside, Kraven stops her on her way to Victor and demands that she cooperate with him. She finally punches him.
Yeah, right in his stupid face.
Dude, it's awesome. She, gets him so good. And so she goes into Victor. Victor starts out sweet and soft with her as Kraven watches from the security room, but he angers as he explains that he should not even be awake at this point. He decides that Kraven can go get proof of Lucian's current situation as he loves Seline, but she has been, air quote, tainted by the animal that he claims Michael is. He says she must be judged for what she has done, and she's taken and locked into her own room. Erica watches as Kraven tells the guards to protect his future queen. So even now, even through all of this, he still thinks he's gonna get her.
Right. Wishful thinking, dude.
What an idiot. Back in the interrogation room, Michael is getting really antsy, probably because, number one, he's terrified. Number two, his body's starting to get ready to change.
He's going through changes.
Back at the mansion again.
Scene change.
Kraven changes the escort that they had planned for the other elder who is currently awake. He changes it at last minute, and he sends one of his own men, Soren. Scene change, the train rolls up as a wolf howls, not ominous at all.
Bark at the moon.
The Lycans have obviously come, and Soren, who's Kraven's man, just stands there and watches.
Yep. Everyone on that train dies, and he just watches, because that was the plan. I will say, too, the scene when Seline goes in to see Victor, you get one of my favorite movie quotes, which is Victor in his, old voice, doing the whole, it's the oldest story in the book. He desires the one thing he cannot have. Yes. One of my favorite movie lines.
That was pretty classic. Scene change.
It's all over the place. Erica kills the power in the mansion and frees Seline from her room. She wants Seline out of the way. Because Seline asks, "Why are you helping me?" She responds, "I'm not helping you.
I'm helping me."
Tosses her a gun and her keys and says, "GTFO." Scene change. The Lycan doctor watches as Seline arrives at the interrogation place, apartment complex, doohickey, there to pick up Michael. Noticing them coming up the steps, she holds them off while Michael jumps hesitantly from the window, does a sick front flip, and lands on his feet. The quote-unquote police from earlier show up and capture him. Seline watches, realizing she can't chase after him, and in that moment she hears a wheezing Dr. Creepy sitting there on the floor just wheezing away because, bullet holes. Scene change. Back in the mansion, Khan and his men have finished a sweep of the area after the power outage and realize the escort should have returned with the elder Amelia. Remembering Celine's concerns, he sends some of his own men to check out the train. Back on the train, the big Lycan from the beginning drains some blood from the writhing and blooding Amelia.
The cops speed off with Michael at this point, who is beginning his first transformation. They realize they will not make it to their destination without stopping, and they go ahead and pull over to inject Michael with something. Scene change. Back again in the vampire mansion, Kraven goes to Victor with the news that Seline has fled again to be with Michael. Blech. In the middle of his annoying "it's not my fault" speech, typical, Seline drags in her proof in the Lycan doctor. The doctor admits that he's been trying to combine Lycan and vampire blood for years, but until Michael, they had not found any positive candidates. He explains that Michael is a direct descendant of Alexander Corvinus, the first true immortal. The doctor goes on to say that Lucian is involved, and as Kraven realizes the hot seat that he's in, he flees from both the room and the mansion.
Like a bitch.
They wrote him so perfectly. You hate him so much. He is such a douche, and he is 100% a douche in this movie.
He really is.
As a last resort to save his own life, the creepy doctor admits that Lucian may be able to inject Amelia's blood with Michael's to create the half-vampire, half-Lycan. Khan's men, back on the train, find Amelia dead and drained. He rallies his team to tell Victor. With one fell swoop, Victor smacks and kills that creepy doctor, who had been laughing when he heard the news. He then tells Seline that he will ensure she is absolved for waking him early as long as she kills Michael.
Oh no. Alright, so back with the fake cops from earlier, who are actually, spoiler alert, Lycans.
Yep.
No one saw that coming.
Nobody.
Michael's tied up on a table as Lucian walks in and explains that he was injected with a serum to stop the transformation. Michael wants to go, but Lucian explains that he can't because he's one of them now, and he will be killed on the spot by any vampire. One of us. Lucian draws some blood from Michael as Michael notices that Lucian's necklace matches the one that he had seen on the woman that was chained up in one of his little flashback memory nightmare things. The flashback memory nightmare thing showed Lucian chained and tortured while he was forced to watch the woman be burned alive. Michael admits to these flashbacks to Lucian, who then explained what had happened. He had been born into slavery that used to be the Lycan clan. They were the quote-unquote daytime protectors of the vampires. And he had fallen in love with a vampire who turned out to be Victor's daughter. Bold move, dude.
Bold move.
Risky. They had married against Victor's wishes.
Bold move.
Ballsy, dude. And then Victor's fear of the species blending led him to kill his own daughter and torture Lucian.
Yep.
Rough, dude.
Yep. Don't really have much to say about that other than yep. Kraven shows up at the Lycan lair, upset that the agreement he had made with Lucian has gone awry. Victor had not been in the plans, as Marcus was supposed to be the next Elder Awakened. Victor was older and apparently stronger.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
Lucian explains to Kraven that with Michael comes the hope to destroy Victor. Just then, some gunfire can be heard. Seline and Khan's men come crashing in. Lucian and Kraven assume Victor is right there with them as well. As Lucian attempts to go out to fight, Kraven shoots him with the new ammunition with silver nitrate in it. There are some seriously awesome fight scenes throughout the lair, my favorite being the vamp with the whips, which I just have to say, I think he could have done a lot better. I just thought it was hilarious that he just whipped out some whips. He didn't use them well, but he had them, and that was pretty cool. What was your favorite, though? My favorite was also Whip Guy, but I think for opposite reasoning. First, I kind of just hated that guy anyways. Oh, same.
He was the worst. Yeah. He was the second douchiest person there.
Sure.
And second, who the hell brings whips to this sewer brawl?
He's not Indiana Jones.
And it's a sewer brawl, dude. You just assume close quarters. You don't bring whips.
But it had silver all over it.
I mean, yeah, they were cool, segmented silver whips.
No, it was dumb.
Visually, yeah, they looked cool. But him sitting there, twirling them was just stupid. And, he got a couple good hits in, but at this point in time, it's the big bad, Lycan from the very beginning.
Yeah, you're fighting the biggest
and
one.
He's
just
what
are you doing?
So PO'd at this point because he just found Lucian shot, so he's just full-on rage mode.
Yep.
Gives zero shits about you slashing him in the face with your pretty whips, and is just walking through them. And then you don't pay attention, and on the backswing, get your whip stuck in a rock.
What an idiot.
And then you die.
But that's why I loved him so much, because it was he got the end that he deserved for trying to be flashy.
And he was so confident, too. He pulls those whips out and like, I got this. Come at me, bro. Like, he was way too confident in his abilities.
Yep, I totally agree.
Which then leads me to believe he practiced with those whips day and night.
Oh, for sure.
He's just out in the backyard like, ha.
Oh, no. Not even the backyard. He'd be the type to have, like, a big floor-to-ceiling mirror.
Oh,
and he's,
God,
like,
he
watching
would.
himself, you know?
While also recording it so he can watch it again later.
Yes, for sure.
God, I'm glad that dude died.
At this point, Seline, who had been traveling through the lair with Khan's men, senses something and she turns to run. Khan tries to follow her. Lucian awakens. I'm not really sure how he isn't dead, but...
Sheer force of will.
Lucian's pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie.
Through sheer force of will, he ejected the previous bullets. Granted, he can't do that here because it's already in his blood.
It's liquid, yeah, it's
but
not
like
bullet.
sheer force of will.
No, I really like him. I'm glad he was awake. Khan and his men get ambushed, and we can only assume murdered. Murdered. Lucian pulls himself up to see Michael through a convenient hole in the wall.
I know. There's no way they didn't punch that hole out earlier just so they had it.
Michael is still strapped to the table, of course, because where else would he be? Michael hears a Lycan, and we see the shadow of it transformed in wolf form just outside the door, which is actually those, like, hanging plastic
screen curtain
Yeah, I just didn't
things.
know what to call that, but yep, that thing. Gunshots ring, and we see Seline. She frees Michael as Lucian watches. He's actually shocked when Seline admits that she may die for helping Michael, but she's gonna do it anyways.
At this point, Victor comes stomping in and annihilates the giant Lycan from earlier. Dude straight up charges him, and Victor just grabs him by the throat. Seline and Michael try to escape, but behind a door, they run into who else but Kraven.
The douche.
Just hiding out in a little closet-looking thing.
He actually fell down into that.
I know, which was
Hilarious.
perfect. Idiot.
Idiot.
Out of jealousy, Kraven just gets super pissed and shoots Michael. A lot, actually. And then still tries to convince Seline to come with him, because dude just doesn't quit.
He doesn't get it.
I mean, like... No, I can't... Yeah, you can't even justify...
No.
I was going to say, well, at least he's... No, he's just a douche.
He's just a
God,
douche.
he's the worst.
He's
I hate
just
him.
a douche.
My retcon's going to be, I wish he died in this film. Spoiler alert, he makes it through the movie. Kraven admits that the truth that he knows about Victor, which is, even though Victor had told Seline that the Lycans had killed her parents, it had actually been him. What a dick.
Yeah.
But when he got to Seline, she looked so much like his Sonia, his daughter, that he also killed.
That he murdered.
That he just simply couldn't kill her, and instead offered her immortality as a vampire.
Yep.
Seline still refuses to come with Kraven because he's the worst.
Yep.
But you can tell she's pretty shook by this revelation he just dropped on her.
Shooketh to the core.
As Kraven loads his weapon and prepares to shoot, Lucian shows up out of nowhere and just hobbles himself over there and stabs Kraven in the leg with this sweet hidden sleeve blade knife sword thing. I want one. Cuts straight through Kraven's leg as he tells Seline to bite Michael. It's the only chance to save him.
Yep. Kraven shoots Lucian again, but sees Victor coming and flees like the little B word that he is, before he can stop Seline. Victor tosses Seline away like a ragdoll and picks up Michael, hurling him literally through a wall.
Through a wall.
He demands to know where Kraven went, but number one, how would Seline know? And number two, why would she tell Victor at this point? I don't
know, I still would, because Kraven's just a dick.
Yeah, but so is Victor.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if I can get one to get rid of the other.
Yeah, but I bet she'd want to kill him. Celine's the type of person to want to do it herself.
You're not wrong. Sorry, please continue.
In the next room, Michael turns his head in the water, and we see his eyes change. There's like a little black hole in the middle, and then it just goes pure black.
Ooh, spooky.
Seline confronts Victor with the information that Kraven had just shared with her. And back in the other room, Michael is in what we can only assume is some serious pain as his body seems to change and unchange. It gets bigger and then smaller and just weird. It goes back to almost his normal size, but just doesn't look right.
A little bit more ripped.
Well, the chest part just...
It's weird.
It's weird. Anyways, Victor tries to say that while he has certainly taken from Seline, he has also given her so much more in offering her eternal life. Are you kidding me? Honestly, What?
Hey, man, I know you took your family, but you can live forever without your family.
Yeah, like, I know I literally murdered them, but hey.
But I let you
now.
live forever.
You got me now.
Forever, ever. Forever, ever.
Seline, obviously angry, brings up Sonia, and Victor admits that she had been pregnant, so he had no choice but to kill her. He said that he did what he must to, quote, protect the species, as he would do again.
And I'll do it again.
Ugh.
Cue Blue Man Michael.
Yep.
Because, he's all blue now.
Yeah, I mean,
he's ripped. He's got some weird chest thing going on. He's got some claws.
Weird. I don't understand.
He's got the teeth and the black eyes, and his skin's blue.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. So out of nowhere, Michael's got some pretty serious fighting skills, considering he was just an intern in surgery before this, and Victor's a lot older and stronger. They just throw hands at each other for quite a while. Reinforcements come and start to shoot Michael, who gets knocked down, but really doesn't seem to be bothered.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
I was actually going to start into that song, too. I'm a little mad you beat me to it. Seline takes out the reinforcements, as she does.
Yep.
Because she's a badass.
Yep.
And she tries to run over to Michael to help him. Victor just kind of clotheslines her.
Yeah.
Which pisses Michael off, so he dead sprints at Victor again. Yep. Mm-hmm. But Victor very quickly gets the upper hand and has Michael in a death grip.
At this point, Seline notices Victor's sword conveniently lying near where she had been thrown. She picks that bad boy up and whoop,
just slices his head in half diagonally. I do like you get the shing as she cuts his head. He stands up, not even realizing
he's ready to fight. He's like, I'm gonna get ya.
Does a thing where he flicks his arms out and two short swords pop out of each sleeves. Because where did these fit? There's no way you could have bent your. I don't. Anyways,
where did Lucian's? Is the same thing.
Touche, but I think his
Lucian's
just fits bigger. Right here, and it just popped out there.
It was long.
I realize I'm saying right here, anyone listening can hear this,
but
I don't know, man. But anyways, Victor's got two short swords, and he's ready to brawl, and that's when he realizes, wait, I feel funny, and then his head just slides off.
No, before that, it's, wait, I feel funny, and then he sees the blood on Seline's sword, and then he's like, oh.
And he's like, oh, she got me. She got me.
That mine.
And then half his head falls off, and his dead body just slumps down into the water.
Yeah, which is really cool. The Lycans in the area kind of let out a low growl, and then they retreat.
I mean, to be fair, if I walked into a room, saw this blue hybrid looking thing, and this chick who just killed Victor, I'm out.
So not to get off track here, I agree with Seline killing Victor. I think that Michael was a little bit underwhelming in this movie as the hybrid.
Yeah, because the whole time they've been mentioning it twice. It's part vampire, part Lycan, stronger than both. And I get Victor's old as fuck and hella strong, but still, it is almost a little underwhelming.
I don't even mean his fighting. I mean him. The way they made him look visually, I thought wasn't really cool. He's dark blue. And has some claws and some teeth, but it changes in the second movie. It looks totally different and better, in my opinion, in the second movie.
Yeah, in the second one, if you watch it, he does look a lot better. I will say at the very beginning of the fight, when he's moving so fast, Victor can't even see him. He just keeps showing up right behind Victor. That was cool. So it kind of showcased the speed, but then after that, then from that point on, it was just very underwhelming.
Yeah, no, I think we're arguing about different things. I thought that his actions were fine. I don't like the way
his factual appearance.
Okay.
Looked.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I get that. I understand why they went with that look, because it's for the most part the physique of the vampire, but the coloring and the claws of the Lycan. I get what they were going for, but yeah, I would agree. It didn't really pan out.
I didn't really like it. But anyways, Seline finds Sonia's necklace and she picks it up. They are both back in their normal states. Seline and Michael, they make eye contact, but they don't say a word. They turn, leaving the Lycan lair behind them. Seline's voice is played while we get a glimpse of the vampire mansion again. The creepy doctor's blood has actually dripped down into the tomb of Marcus. Seline knows that soon she will become the hunted for what she has done, killing Victor. Even though he was a douche, he was still an elder. And
the elder.
And then Marcus's eyes open.
And then they turn black.
Bum, bum, bum. And that's the movie, folks. With that, let's go ahead and head on into the retcon section. Bri, you start us off.
Okay. So first and foremost, I just also want to say, like, that was a pretty good cliffhanger to leave the movie on.
Oh, it was awesome.
So,
awesome.
Just that one little subtle...
Awesome.
His eyes open and they're the vampire bright blue, and then they very quickly just turn all black. Like, that was cool.
It was so cool.
I liked it. All right, so I have a couple things I'd retcon. First, I would change Kraven's character.
Really?
Simply because, like, they make it more believable that he has this master plan with Lucian instead of him just running around constantly in a rage-fueled panic. Like, the whole time, like, which I don't know. I guess now that I'm thinking about it again, it kind of does make sense because there's no way he came up with that plan himself. So yeah.
No. Mm-mm.
I don't know. I just... Yeah, that plan was clearly Lucian's, and Kraven's just going along with it. But I don't know. I would still find some way to change Kraven so he's not just a whiny little bitch.
So, for being a vampire as old as he is, right? Because he helped, quote, kill Lucian the first time. So he's very old.
Yeah, he's been around.
He acts very immature.
Yes.
He acts like he doesn't understand anything. He doesn't understand that he can't have Seline. He doesn't understand the consequences of everything he's done. He's very immature.
Yes. I think, you know what? I think that is probably my problem with him. Mm-hmm. Thank you for very easily summarizing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, I just don't like his character. Yeah. I hate him. I hate everything he does. I hate his actions. I hate his mannerisms.
Sure.
He's supposed to be at least a part of this whole vampire coup to get rid of the elders and take control. And, like, there's no way in hell anyone in that mansion would look at him and be like, yeah, no, you just killed Victor and Marcus. I'll totally follow you.
See, but I understand what you're saying, but I think differently because I think aside from Khan and Seline, the rest of the vampires look like about the same as Kraven.
Yeah, that's true. Most of them just look just stoned out of their minds, sitting down.
And drunk, like, they are.
Yeah, they're probably pretty content to go with the status quo,
They seem like the atypical pleasure vampires. Like, they just want to sit around and drink and have sex and, do those kinds of things. So they probably, in my opinion, think Kraven's awesome because he wants to do those things too.
Can we also talk about just vampire fashion? It's always like skin tight leather or
like Victorian.
Yeah. There's never any middle ground. I did like Khan and his men. Their like costumes were actually pretty cool.
I liked Khan a lot, actually.
But yeah, so anyways, to summarize, make Kraven less immature, make him actually seem like an adult who's capable of running a vampire coven.
Right.
Second thing is I'd probably just go in and clean up some of the animation for the most part. I get this movie was made in 2003, and for the time, the animation quality was not bad. But it doesn't age well. It didn't age well.
No, you're right. Absolutely.
Like some of the transformations actually look pretty cool. Some of them were very CGI heavy. There were multiple scenes where the Lycans are running across the wall, which I didn't really care for that. Just in general, like them being able to run along a wall.
Also, why?
Yeah, but like the scenes of them doing that, I don't know. I didn't care. Visually, I would clean it up a little bit.
Sure.
Maybe try to blend some of that stuff a little bit better. And also, I never realized it until this time I was watching through because I was really paying attention. But like, there are multiple scenes where you can clearly tell they're wearing contacts to turn their eyes that color because obviously people don't have bright fluorescent blue eyes. I get that. But maybe blend the edges of the contact just a hair so it kind of isn't staring you in the face.
It's funny that you say that because I noticed it too. And I don't know why this time because we've seen this movie a lot of times. Yeah. But yeah, I noticed it too that the contacts were like, oh, hold on there.
And it's always in like huge climactic
important
scenes.
Moments.
Like at the end there where Celine's calling Victor on his bullshit. Every time you look at her, you can see the contact. Like, bro, come in and just blend that.
Or like get bigger contacts. I mean, they make them.
Or smaller so it stops right at the edge of the colored section. I see what you mean. Yeah. But yeah, so for the most part, like I was cool with the story itself. I was cool like with casting and all that. I would just those two things would probably be it for me. What about you?
I have a hard time with this. I think that my biggest thing is just the Lycan costumes. the Lycan costumes and Michael's transformation. I think I expected too much. Like, I wanted the Lycans to be really cool and impressive and intimidating, and every time that I'd see them transform, I just kind of had to laugh at it because it just looks stupid to me.
What I'm wondering too is if like the Lycan look was a deliberate choice, because like they're not calling them werewolves, they're specifically calling them Lycans. So I wonder if, like, hey, new name, new me.
It's not new though. They've been called Lycans.
No,
before.
I know, but
I don't think Lycans look like that.
No, I don't know. I agree with you though. Like, they maybe okay. So yeah, we'll go back. We're gonna fix the animation, and we'll put a little bit more budget into the costume department.
Yeah. And also, this is stupid, but I think it would have been cool for them to tie a piece of the original human quote form into the Lycan, so that you could kind of tell them apart a little bit easier. I know that they made the size differences because the big Lycan was
so you actually like tell the individual Lycans apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really wish they could have made it so that they were individualized a little bit, so you could say, oh, that's that Lycan, oh, that's that Lycan. And also, Lucian. What does he look like?
Right. Yeah, you never got to see him full. He like does a half transform thing at the beginning when he's spitting the blood into the vial.
Right, but it's just like his face. And I thought he looked, my personal opinion, I thought he looked really cool.
Wait, no, you do get to see him once.
Do you?
Yeah, it's when Michael is strapped to that table and he's having like the lengthy, vivid flashback of Sonya being...
Oh, you see him in the flashback.
Yeah, you see him transform in the flashback. And I honestly think in Lycan form in that one, he actually might have been bigger than that big ass one.
So it's not even that size goes with him.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, like it was a grainy flashback view is really all you got to see, and you didn't get to see him actually fight in that form.
So maybe as they get older, like how they said that the moon doesn't have sway over the older Lycans anymore, maybe they also can control how much they transform. So he only transformed the part of him that he needed to bite.
Yeah. Which, like, you know, I'm going to add a retcon now that you mention it. So they multiple times talked about how, like, the moon now holds no sway over the Lycans. And, you know, the older ones have learned to transform at will instead of involuntary. They talk about it, but they never really get into it until... is it the second? They do eventually talk about it. I think it's like in the third one, to be honest with you, because one of them.
What do you mean?
Like how they got to a point where they can transform on their own. Because, like back in like, so when Lucian was born, he was born into slaves, and I'm pulling all this from like I think like the third movie because that's when they actually really dive into that. Like a lot of them, I think it's once they transform, they don't transform back to a human. They're so rage filled they can't calm down enough to come back. And eventually they learn to do the back and forth. So they talk about it in this one, but they never really go into like how. It was just the older ones can kind of just do whatever they want.
But I think that's because it was coming from a vampire's perspective who probably didn't understand it.
That's fair.
Not to like fight everything you say, but that's just my opinion. I think that was purposefully done because it was the very beginning of the movie from Seline's perspective.
It's I keep saying it's the third one. I think it's the third one. I don't know. There's one of them down the line where it actually shows that time frame.
It's about the history, way back in history with Marcus and Lucian and Victor,
and when Lucian was a slave and all that. Like, there's an entire movie that revolves around that time frame, and that's when you really do get a lot of the background info and all that. I just wish they could have like put just a tiniest little snippet up here in this first one just to kind of give some sort of context to it, you know?
Sure.
But any hoozles. You got anything else?
No.
All right.
I don't think I do.
All right, well, it's time to wrap it up. So no more retcon thoughts, but any other thoughts in general about this movie before we shut her down?
No, I highly recommend watching it if you're into vampires or werewolves or even just dark movies or a hot actress. I mean, any/all of the above, and you'll probably enjoy this movie. I really liked it, and yeah. I like talking about it.
Yeah, as far as vampire werewolf movies go, it's one of my favorites.
Yep,
the entire
me too.
series is good. Well, all right then. Well, let's get out of here.
Well, we won't get out of here
Yeah.
because we're stuck.
Yeah, because we are doing this from home. But Shelbs, thanks for being stuck with me again.
Yep, any day.
Yeah, you're cute.
Aw.
Folks, thanks for listening to Shelby and I break down the movie Underworld. You're welcome to check us out on Twitter at Retcon Air, and we do a lot of work on Facebook at facebook.com/Retcon Air. Check us out. Don't check us out. It's your life, man. Live it.
Please check us out.
Please check us out. Wherever you're listening to, they have some sort of rating system, and you can give us some stars. That would be pretty cool. Maybe leave us, a positive review, or some comments. Tell us that you like what we're doing.
Yeah, let us know.
And we'd appreciate that very much. And all right, until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.